Hi, friends, it's Olivia, and welcome back to Sister Wives Secrets, the place where we dig deeper, past the surface, beyond the scripted scenes, and into the real stories that TLC doesn't always show us. If you're just stumbling on this video, hit that subscribe button right now because what we're about to uncover today is raw, emotional, and very, very real. Have you ever watched someone slowly disappear in plain sight? Not with slamming doors or dramatic exits, but with silent unfollows, carefully worded captions, and those haunting glances that say everything words can't. That's what we've seen happening with Meri Brown. And now she's gone. Officially. Quietly. Almost too quietly. But behind that silence, there's a storm. Something about the way Meri left. It doesn't sit right. The language, the timing, the absence of even the most basic acknowledgement from Robyn and Kody. It's not just a breakup. It's a rewriting of history, a quiet erasure. Like Meri was never even there. And maybe that's the scariest part. That after decades of loyalty, of holding on when everyone else let go, of staying in a marriage that gave her nothing back, she was pushed out. Or maybe she walked. Maybe both. But one thing is clear, this wasn't just a clean break. This was years in the making, and now it's finally exploded under the surface. So what really happened? Why did Mary's exit feel so hidden? Who made the final call? And why does it feel like everyone around her just moved on like she never existed? Today, we're unpacking it all. The final clues, the long simmering silence, the betrayals that played out in whispers instead of fights. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's talk. Because Meri may be gone from the Brown family, but the truth? It's just starting to come out. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. The thing about heartbreak is, it doesn't always show up as loud crying or dramatic exits. Sometimes it shows up as silence, as absence. And Meri Brown? She's been silently disappearing for years now. We just didn't want to believe it. If you go back and rewatch the last couple seasons of Sister Wives, it's all there. The missed family gatherings, the awkward pauses, the way she'd stand at the edge of group conversations, her smile just a little too tight, her eyes just a little too distant. It felt like she was trying so hard to belong in a place where she already knew she didn't. And if you follow Meri on Instagram, and trust me, I've read every caption like it's a coded message, she's been telling us for a long time that something wasn't right. Think back to those long, reflective posts, the ones about strength, growth, and reclaiming her voice. Posts that sounded empowering, yes, but also painfully lonely. There was one post where she wrote, "Sometimes you just have to do what's best for your soul." And when I read that, I got chills. Because it didn't sound like a generic quote. It sounded like a woman talking directly to herself, reminding herself that she still mattered. And I'll be honest with you guys, watching this unfold as someone who's followed this family for years, it hurts. I remember rooting for Meri when she was trying to rebuild things with Kody, when she was clinging to hope, even after the catfishing scandal. But slowly, you could see the light start to fade. The way Kody would barely look at her. The way Robyn seemed to avoid direct connection with her in later episodes. Meri was becoming a ghost in her own family. Even on the show, she started using phrases like, "I'm just here," and "I don't know where I fit in anymore." You guys, those aren't just throwaway lines. That's grief. That's someone mourning the life they thought they'd have. And instead of her family pulling her closer, she got pushed further out, little by little, moment by moment. And here's the thing I can't stop thinking about. Did anyone really fight for her? Did anyone look her in the eyes and say, "We want you here. You matter"? Because from what we've seen, it feels like everyone was too wrapped up in their own dynamics to notice the woman slowly fading from view. And maybe that's the saddest part, that Meri didn't leave in anger. She left in silence. After years of trying, hoping, and being ignored. She walked away with her head high, but her heart heavy. And honestly, I felt that deeply. Let me know in the comments. When did you start to notice Meri pulling back? Was there a specific moment that hit you? Because I think for many of us, we saw the signs. We just didn't want to believe they meant goodbye. You guys, to really understand how we got here, to Mary's quiet, heartbreaking goodbye, we have to go all the way back. Because this isn't just about a woman leaving a plural marriage, it's about years of emotional isolation, of trying to hold on to something that was already slipping through her fingers. It's about betrayal, public humiliation, and a slow unraveling that played out right in front of us on national TV. Let's talk about the catfish. That was the beginning of the end, even if none of us wanted to admit it at the time. Meri was vulnerable, lonely, emotionally abandoned by Kody, and seeking connection wherever she could find it. And instead of finding a friend, she was lured into an emotional relationship with someone pretending to be a man, who turned out to be a woman. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was public. She was humiliated, mocked online, and even questioned by her own family. But what really stayed with me was how Kody responded. Not with empathy, not with love, but with bitterness, judgment. You could see it on his face in every episode after that. It was like Meri became a burden, a reminder of a mistake he'd rather forget than forgive. And Meri, she wore that shame. Quietly. She didn't fight back like Christine. She didn't emotionally detach like Janelle. She stayed. She tried. She apologized over and over, even when it felt like no one else was apologizing to her. Rewatch some of those older episodes. There's this one scene I'll never forget. Meri is sitting on the couch, her voice shaking, trying to explain that she just wanted to feel loved. And Kody says, almost coldly, that he doesn't feel safe with her anymore. That line? It shattered something in me. Because how ironic is that? Meri didn't feel emotionally safe for years. But the moment she acted on her loneliness, she was painted as the one who broke trust. Meanwhile, we saw Christine make a clean break when she felt disrespected. We saw Janelle speak up, set boundaries, and choose herself. But Meri, she stayed in the silence. She clung to hope. Even when Kody made it clear over and over that he wasn't emotionally invested in her anymore. And can we just talk about how painful that level of patience is? The kind where you're waiting for someone to love you again, knowing deep down they probably won't. That's the kind of heartbreak that doesn't scream. It whispers. It sinks deep. And watching Meri carry that pain with quiet dignity all these years, it broke something in all of us who were really paying attention. So yeah, the catfish wasn't just a scandal. It was a cry for help. A moment where Meri reached out for something real and got burned. But instead of falling apart publicly, she swallowed it. She stayed until she couldn't anymore. And honestly, that slow burn of unspoken pain is more tragic than any explosive breakup ever could be. Now let's get into the part that really gets under my skin. Because once you start connecting the dots, the picture becomes crystal clear. We're talking about control, manipulation, and a power dynamic that slowly but surely pushed everyone else out. Kody and Robyn didn't just fall into each other's arms out of love, they built a fortress, and everyone else, they were left outside the gates, especially Meri. For years, we watched Kody pretend that he was trying with all his wives. But if you really look, like really pay attention to the body language in interviews, the shifting alliances, the moments of silence in group conversations, it's so obvious that he started emotionally aligning with Robyn long before any of the actual breakups happened. He'd defend her fiercely, defer to her opinions, and subtly undermine the other wives. It was so strategic and so painful to watch. Remember those reunion specials? The ones where Kody would sit there all smug, arms crossed, and throw phrases like emotional safety or accountability at Meri, while never once reflecting on his part in any of it. He'd use therapy talk, but weaponized, like he was the victim. And Robyn? She'd cry those quiet tears, make it seem like she wanted everyone to get along, but somehow, she always ended up on top, the victim and the queen. And Meri, oh, Meri became collateral damage in all of this. She was the scapegoat, the one they could pin the awkwardness on, the problem wife. Kody used the catfish incident like a get out of jail free card for his emotional abandonment. Like, see, this is why I don't trust her. But what about the years of coldness before that? What about the way he told the camera that he had no romantic love left for her and still expected her to sit there and smile for family photo ops? It's manipulative. It's gaslighting, plain and simple. And as viewers, we were made to believe that Meri was just clingy or dramatic. But the truth is, she was being shut out, slowly and methodically. The family narrative was shifting, and she wasn't part of it anymore. Even on social media, the clues were there. Robyn's posts were always polished, always about family unity and spiritual bonding. But Meri's, they started getting cryptic, lonely. You could see her trying to redefine herself, to find meaning outside the family that once defined her. And Kody? His energy was all about defending his real marriage, aka Robyn. Everyone else became side characters in a show that was supposed to be about equality. Let's call it what it is: a slow, quiet coup. Kody and Robyn centralized power, and Meri, like Christine and Janelle, was squeezed out. But unlike the others, she stayed the longest. She endured the longest. And for that, I don't see her as weak. I see her as loyal to a fault. She loved hard, even when it hurt. But in the end, she was no match for a system built on favoritism and control. This isn't just drama, it's a cautionary tale. And if you've ever been gaslit, ignored, or made to feel like you were the problem for asking to be loved, then you know exactly what Meri's been through. And then it happened. Quietly. No big dramatic episode, no emotional showdown, just a simple, almost clinical post buried in the flood of New Year reflections, where Meri finally confirmed what so many of us had already felt in our guts. She and Kody were done. It wasn't explosive. It wasn't messy. It was just sad, honest, and in its own way, incredibly brave. Her words were carefully chosen, measured but heavy with finality. She spoke about choosing to leave with love, grace, and kindness. And let me tell you, that phrase hit me hard because you know she could have said so much more. She could have named names, exposed the gaslighting, gone full tell all, but she didn't. That's who Meri is, still trying to take the high road, even when the road has been littered with betrayal for years. And then came the photo scrubs. You know what I mean. Those subtle but soul shaking moments when you realize that every trace of a shared life is just gone. Followers noticed instantly. The anniversary posts, the family trips, the sweet throwbacks, even the awkward family group pics disappeared from Meri's profile like they'd never happened. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a digital erasure, a reclaiming of space. But if you've ever had to untangle your life from someone else's, especially someone who made you feel small, you know how monumental that is. It's like every deleted photo is a whispered, I deserve better. Every removed caption is a reclaiming of voice. It's grief, yes, but it's also healing. And here's where I get emotional, you guys, because I think so many of us have been there, stuck in something toxic, believing that if we just try harder, love stronger, hold on longer, it'll change. That they will change. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to let go. Not with bitterness, not with a need for revenge, but with peace. Mary's goodbye wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was real. And in that silence, there's a power. A woman who gave everything, who waited and hoped and stayed. Finally saying, no more. So I have to ask, have you ever stayed too long? Have you ever ignored your own voice because you were afraid of the silence that might come after? Because what Meri shows us is that silence can be healing, that the end doesn't always look like defeat. Sometimes it's the beginning of a new kind of strength. Mary's story, her quiet strength, her long-suffering patience, and her final decision to walk away. It's not just a reality TV moment. It's a mirror for so many of us. It's a reminder that boundaries matter, that silence is not weakness, that staying doesn't always mean loyalty. It can mean fear or hope misplaced, or even just not knowing how to leave. And leaving? That can be the most courageous thing a person ever does. Watching Mary's journey unfold over the years, I've found myself tearing up more times than I can count, not just because of what she went through, but because of how familiar it feels. Maybe you've been there too, pushing down your feelings, shrinking yourself to keep the peace, convincing yourself that someday things will change. Maybe you've deleted photos too. Maybe you've looked at someone you once loved and realized they don't see you anymore. And maybe you've had to choose you, finally. And if you have, I see you. I truly do. And if you haven't yet, but you're feeling that tug inside, please know that your voice matters. Your peace matters. You are not alone. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in Mary's shoes? What helped you find your way out? Or are you still finding it now? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's talk. Let's connect.